What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Librarians, Season 3, Episode 4, in the Self-Fulfilling Prophecy. So, what this episode kind of does is something that I've seen quite a bit before. You know, you have the whole, you have the self-fulfilling prophecy, so Eve's death gets prophesied, and so it's kind of a question of, oh, how's she going to get out of it? What's she going to do? I've seen this done quite a few times. I've seen the whole cheating fate thing done quite a few times. But what I really like about this is that they do it in fairly a clever way. Because first of all, we start off with all of them just kind of trapped inside this room, and they're not really sure where they are. They're not sure how they got there, and so they start doing these flashbacks, and Eve remembers the Reaper prophesying her death. And they remember going to a high school and meeting these people there, and then they end up in the pool and all of this stuff. And it's just, the way it's set up is actually pretty clever. Because at first you're just like, oh, okay, so there's this swim team that's doing really well, and how could they be doing so well? And then all of a sudden they get to the pool, and then they have these glasses that can see into the future, and so they're like, what's going on? And so then the Reaper shows up, all of a sudden they get dragged into the pool. And so it's kind of a question of what is going on, what is happening, and how is this all going to tie into the Reaper and Eve cheating her death. So, I don't know, it was just done really cleverly. I think having the little janitor lady thrown in there, I was just like, who is she? And then all of a sudden the whole thing about the Oracle comes in, and Jenkins is telling Cassandra the story about the Oracle and how she cheated death. And I'm just like, okay, so that's the Oracle, right? And sure enough, she ends up being the Oracle. We see it's kind of an interesting little plan brought up by the Oracle. And it kind of ties into Eve's story as well. But we hear the story of how she first cheated her own death because she saw one of her inner circle or something like that. She saw one of them was going to kill her. So what she did, she created a prophecy for every single one of them being killed by the one that they marry, and then she married all of them. So she ended up being the one that killed all of them, so that way none of them could kill her. It was kind of clever in the way that she sort of worked around that. And so she's done it again. She created a prophecy where Eve died, and that kept her from her death for some reason. I hope this gets explained a bit more clearly as the season goes on, because apparently Eve is supposed to be extremely important. Not only for the future of the library, but just she's supposed to be important somehow, so much so that her death would keep the Oracle from dying. I hope that gets explained a bit better. I hope that that's not just, oh, she's just really important, so that her death would change time, and that's all it is. I hope there's actually a legit reason for why the Oracle was going to die unless Eve died first. I want that explained. I want that to be more than just, oh, it's because she's important. So, I don't know. It seems like a clever plan if we knew more about why Eve's death would affect the Oracle. But, I mean, overall, it was pretty interesting. Not only that the little maid lady ended up being the Oracle, because it was kind of like, what is she doing there? How did she know about the prophecy glass? And the other two clearly don't. And of course, we see some very interesting decisions as well, because you see Eve is with the maid and the principal for the school, and so they've got a choice between the two doors, and it doesn't seem like there are any hints as to what door to choose. And so she just all of a sudden thinks, wait a second, my time's not up yet. So it means whatever door I choose, I'm not going to die. And sure enough, that works. Whenever Ezekiel and Stone are on their side of it, and they've got the kid with them, he's got these coins that apparently will show them the way. So he flips the coin onto a certain square, and then if it's not right, Zeus's lightning strikes it down. If it is right, they can go. And so he's been using it, and then all of a sudden he gets to his last coin, and he had a vision of the future where he was donating that coin to a museum. So he realized, wait a second, this coin, whichever one I flip it on, it's going to be the right one, because I keep this coin. So that works, and they get through. And I just like that thought of, you see the future, and you see this is your destiny, and so whatever happens, you know that destiny's going to happen. So whatever happens to get you there, you can make decisions based off of that. You can decide, oh, I've got this coin that I know I'm going to have for later. That means I'm not going to lose this coin. That means we're going to make it through, right? Sure enough, they do. It's really, really interesting, and I like how they managed to do that. It does also kind of beg the question, though, if you do see your future, couldn't that also possibly change it? You know, because like with Eve and seeing herself die in the library, it's kind of like, well, she, because of that, found a way to get herself out of the library, and so now all of a sudden the Reaper doesn't kill her anymore because, well, now her prophecy is done. And then, of course, with Ezekiel and the coin, I mean, it could have been he just happened to decide this one, this one, this one beforehand, but then all of a sudden, because he thinks, oh, well, if I keep this coin, that means I just do whatever, and so he just flips it onto the wrong one, and now all of a sudden the future's changed. I feel like that possibly could be something that happens, but at the same time, you know, you kind of accept the fact that this is part of the story. They're just using this sort of idea of fate in a different way than I've gotten used to seeing it used. You know, watching shows like The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow or Timeless, them seeing the future can also affect how they make decisions in the present, and so that can cause ramifications for the future and change the future as well. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a question of, do you believe that fate is fate and nothing you can do can change it, or do you believe that, you know, sometimes fate just, you see what's going to happen no matter what choice you make. It's kind of interesting. I wish they tackled a little bit more than that, and maybe they will. Maybe they're going to talk about fate as the season goes on. But for this one, it did leave some questions that I wish were answered, but it was still done cleverly, so I still enjoyed it. And so I guess that kind of is all of this episode. You know, just some really clever stuff, some stuff that I wish was explained a bit more. I will say, though, that a couple of things that stood out to me that were good or bad. One, good, I think, once again, just watching this show is starting to get so much more enjoyable than the first two seasons, because they really are taking it in a different direction. It's not just goofy jokes and making silly puns all the time and weird acting, you know, just acting really goofy most of the time. To be fair, the Oracle stood out to me as clearly like, no! And just the way that she said things, you could tell she was something out of a comic book, pretty much. But the rest of the acting, it feels very genuine. It feels serious. Even the principal and the student, like, even though they were a bit quirky, you could see that it felt more quirky in a realistic sense, not in like a, oh, this is all fantasy and we're going to talk in weird, strange tones and all that stuff. So it's just getting a lot of fun to watch because I'm not distracted by all the cheesy, quirky stuff going on. It actually, most of the time, feels like I'm watching something a bit more serious and something a bit more grounded. And as funny as that is to hear about a fantasy show, it does sort of help you relate a bit more to it than watching a bunch of people acting weird for a whole episode and just like, I can't really relate to that. So, also, I mean, another good part of it is they're tackling more serious issues. I mean, it's not just, oh, we're just talking about magic and this and this. No, this is talking about death and fate of death. You know, Eve has to deal with the fact that she might die if she doesn't succeed, and so she does anything she can to get away from that death. But then at the end, we see, whenever death has come for her, we see Ezekiel and Stone like stand up and say, no, take us. Because they have that connection. They feel like Eve is more important than they are, even though, well, I think the logic was they think that they're more important than Eve, and so they'd rather see them die they'd rather sacrifice themselves than have Eve die. But like I said before, Eve for some reason is really important. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that they are taking a more serious tone to the season so far, and it's been fun to watch. So, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Librarians reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.